Alright, what is going on YouTube? And today we got a brand new episode of Quickscoping for Christ. If you remember in the last episode, we were talking about how I believed Revelation 13, which encompasses the beast out of the sea and the beast out of the earth, is talking about world stage theory. The beast out of the sea being the ancient demons and spirits that rebelled against God, and their children, the Nephilim, coming out of the sea as they were buried by the water of the floods during the times of Noah. They came out of the sea, they infiltrated our positions of leadership in the world, and now they have established that final kingdom on the earth during the end times. The beast out of the earth is a digital interface that this beast out of the sea created to imprison us in the modern day and in the coming times, being that kingdom of iron and clay talked about in Daniel, and the beast with iron claws and teeth that is talked about in Daniel as well, the kingdom unlike any of the other kingdoms. But today I'm going to talk about if I'm wrong about this world stage theory, because if everybody's telling you something with extreme confidence as if they know it, and those things contradict each other, then somebody, if not both of them, have to be wrong despite how much they assure you that they're correct about their theory. So I want to cover everything, I want to apply wisdom and discernment, and this is something that I've prayed extensively about. I still believe relatively wholeheartedly that I was right the first time, but we're just going to go over a couple other possibilities, and we're going to talk about Antichrist-like figures throughout history, because many times before people have believed that they're seeing the man of sin with their very own eyes, and I'm going to go through a couple of them, a couple theories that I hear online of who different Antichrist figures are, and debunk most of them. And then there's some of them that I'm like, it could be. But one thing you have to remember is that the Bible uses a lot of foreshadowing. This is something that I brought up before about how Antiochus Epiphanes, which is the first figure we're going to talk about, he kind of foreshadowed the man of sin alive in the final kingdom in the book of Daniel. So that's the one we'll talk about first. It's Antiochus Epiphanes. He matches a lot of the descriptions of the prophecies in Daniel, but he doesn't accomplish them entirely. And so this basically foreshadows like another wicked leader, because in the book of Daniel it talks about him establishing the abomination that causes desolation, and basically what he did was he erected a statue of Zeus or made an altar to Zeus or something like that, but he made a sacrifice of a pig in the temple, and pigs, they weren't allowed to be sacrificed, so this was a very disrespectful thing to have done. In addition to that, he did it to a false god, a Greek god at that time. He was a Greek ruler, and he took away the Sabbath for the Jews, so therefore making their culture more desolate. He was, he would not allow them to worship in the temple as they had in the past. He got rid of the Sabbath, basically. So he did some pretty bad things, but he doesn't match the prophecy entirely, and obviously this happened a long, long time ago, and Jesus himself didn't come to stop Antiochus Epiphanes. We received more prophecies after this man already passed away, so he is not the Antichrist, but he does kind of foreshadow this figure, and also kind of lets us know what that might look like, especially to us as Christians, because Antiochus to the Jews is probably going to be the Antichrist to the Christians in a couple ways. Another one I've seen people say online that I'm going to completely debunk, no credibility behind this whatsoever, is a lot of people say that Noah's grandson Nimrod is the Antichrist, or like the first Antichrist. Just stupid stuff you see online, but I have genuinely seen people say that. Definitely not. There was no end times prophecy really at the time Noah was even alive, so that's a ridiculous thing to say. Nimrod is one of the people, I believe, who established the Tower of Babel, so no. Moving on, Nero. Nero is one that I think has the most validity to it when people say that we missed the end times and he could be the Antichrist, because Nero did do pretty unspeakable things to both the Jews and the Christians at the time. He really hated God, and he saw himself as a god, which is kind of how we hear about the man of sin exalting himself up and saying unspeakable things against the God of gods. So people in that time, Nero might as well have been the Antichrist. And I know that he also had his own trading system. Some people say that, like, when you ascribe a numerical value to Nero's name, it's the number 666 or something. I think that that's a little out there. I really do. I don't really, the gematria stuff, all that, the ascribing a assigned number value to somebody's name, I don't think that that holds too much weight. It's kind of a stretch. I tend to believe that the Bible wouldn't really incorporate something that kind of human and confusing in it, if you know what I mean. A very, very niche like thought process. But there's also historical stuff like the Dark Ages coming next, which was like, people say it's like 1,000 years, and then after that we had the Renaissance period where there was a big boom in like art and scientific discovery. Some people's theory is that Nero was the beast, Jesus came back, killed Nero, and had his 1,000-year reign, which was the Dark Ages. Then the devil was loosed on the earth as prophet, and we'll get to that prophecy later. I'm getting ahead of ourselves here, but that is further down the road in Revelation. The devil's loosed on the earth and has a short season after Jesus' millennia reign, and that's why he called the 1,000-year reign with the Lord the Dark Ages, because obviously he hates God and hates Jesus, and he would call that a dark age because, you know, that's his enemy right there. And then he offers a bunch of scientific stuff to the world and calls all the time period with him this, you know, big boom, this big enlightenment. But debunking that would be saying that the Satan's short season has ended up being a lot longer than the millennia reign, unless of course we're in some kind of illusion, which people also believe. Some people that think Nero is the Antichrist will say that we all took the mark of the beast back in the ancient times, and we're in kind of a simulation now, and like nothing's real. We've been stuck in this kind of loop of like history repeating itself, and that's why we get deja vu and stuff. It's simulation theory, and it's not something I ascribe to. And there's even verses in the Bible that speak against simulation theory, and we covered that in a previous episode. I'm just kind of rehashing it right here. And as far as I know, Nero didn't enter the temple of the Lord at all, like the prophecies say about the North King or Stern-faced King doing. There's a lot of nicknames for the Antichrist. The Antichrist is more of a name that we coined, because that word isn't even mentioned too many times in the Bible. But, you know, there's North King, there's Stern-faced King, Man of Sin, Little Horn is a lot of them, Eighth King or something like that. There's a whole lot of stuff like that. Goes by many names, not a good guy at all, obviously. But I think that it's more likely that Nero just foreshadows the coming. Next, we're going to go into the most controversial one, and the one that I was taught, having gone to a Lutheran school, that is the truth, and that is that the Pope is the Antichrist and the Catholic Church is the beast out of the sea. For so many reasons, I disagree with this one. I think that the fruit on the tree of the Pope and the Catholic Church as a whole does not align with such, you know, unspeakable prophecies. Obviously, the Catholic Church has its controversies, but it doesn't have near the amount of power that this beast system is said to have in the book of Revelation. The whole world isn't standing in awe of the Catholic Church, and it hasn't for a long, long time. Now, some people could say that with all of its like historical connections and funding and all of its ties, it's ruling the earth from the shadows. I think that there might be multiple other groups that are doing that a little more than the Catholic Church, if you catch my drift. But even if that was true, the whole world isn't standing in awe of the Catholic Church. They aren't, openly assigning this mark of the beast to people at all, especially not yet, and there's no real sign of that happening. And in a positive light, I think the Catholic Church has also done vast good in the world. I don't think that Jesus would have left the world knowing that the first kind of church that took his word and kept moving was instantly going to be wrong and misleading the whole world. I don't think Jesus would have left his church in the hands of what would become the Catholic Church in like a very short time following his ascension and just been like, oh, whatever. I think he had a plan. I do not think that it is the Catholic Church. So the next one I want to talk about, which is pretty interesting to me for another reason, is actually Hitler. And that's because a lot of these people, all of these people are pretty bad guys. But the basis for their the reasoning behind thinking that this person was the Antichrist is due to the persecution of the Christians. But what Hitler also had going for him was prophecies like this man is a stern-faced king, a man of intrigue, and also making very big promises. See, there's this idea that the Antichrist is going to come and try to fix a lot of earthly problems, and that's what's going to fool people. And it says in Revelation that they, perform false miracles and stuff. But the big thing is that Hitler was a very big military leader, and he offered a bunch of promises for the group of people that he was advocating for, which brings me to this next point, is the false Messiah concept. And this is a concept that we see a lot in movies we like to watch, stories we like to read. Dune and Star Wars are two great examples. There's many more, obviously. Anakin's supposed to be the chosen one. He ends up, betraying the Jedi and stuff. You already know about that. The more accurate one, though, is like the story Dune. So you got the character Paul Atreides. He is somebody who came from a noble lineage whose people betrayed him. So to get revenge, he basically weaponizes a group of people who's waiting for a Messiah, a group of blue-eyed people, and he essentially gets them to fight for him against the royal group that betrayed him, the Imperium. He uses a whole bunch of, lies and gives them false hope to get them to go back and attack the Imperium. He basically weaponizes a group of people, and he knows it. He's a false prophet and stuff. And I think this is a pretty crazy, one of my favorite movies of all time, and a really well-written, really awesome character. But in real life, that'd probably be a problem for us. And if you think about it, that's basically the story of the Holocaust. Like a dude who, Hitler was big on blonde hair and blue eyes. He didn't even have blonde hair himself, and he weaponized a group of people that had blonde hair and blue eyes to attack Jewish people who obviously have a lot of noble history behind them. So this is an important thing to remember, because there is a big thought process that the Antichrist is going to be the military leader that the Jews wanted Jesus to be in, like, the book of Matthew and stuff. Like, when Jesus came, they were really disappointed because Jesus was this really cool guy with a lot of good insight, but he wasn't the military leader that was freeing them from the Romans. So what the Antichrist could look like in Gentile, Jewish, and actually Islamic lives could be a military leader that comes to fulfill all of their immediate earthly problems. For us, following this false Messiah theory. Like when I say us, like the Gentiles, it would look like a man who comes in and destroys the corrupt system we have going on. But the component where the beast tramples on Mystery Babylon, the great prostitute and stuff, for us that would look like a very military, very brutal man who comes in and gives people permission to attack the establishment and tear down all this corruption and stuff, builds a new world. And that's going to sound really good at first, but it's actually just to establish his own kingdom, and then he's going to try to get us to turn against God and worship himself. And that's when the beheadings will come in, because if you don't worship him, if you maintain your testimony to the Lord, he's going to kill you and stuff, and then he'll roll on the mark of the beast. That's for the Gentiles. You know, the Jewish Messiah, what that would look like for them is somebody that comes in and conquers the Middle East, establishes the New Jerusalem, the Pax Judaica, right there, right now for them, and then switches up and betrays them. In this theory, if it is the Jewish Messiah that they've been waiting for, this military leader, the abomination that causes desolation is actually going to be like a machine body built for the devil on earth. That's just the theory I have, because if you look at what's going on with Israel, there's a lot of technology and a lot of AI involved in that. But then for the Muslims, I think it's going to be a lot like Dune, a military leader that delivers, you know, Palestine, Gaza, Lebanon, all that area from Israel's military oppression and all the bombings. It's going to come in, and that would be pretty huge for them, because they've been waiting for, I don't know, I don't study the Quran or any of that stuff or Islamic culture, but I do know that they're also waiting for a big figure, a big historical, you know, Messiah to pop up. So it could be somebody that frees them from Israel, because, you know, they've been warring for a long time. And this would be a conqueror that comes from, you know, the Islamic area and sweeps across the nation. Hold on, my cat's playing with a spider. So this idea of a false Messiah or a false prophet is that the beast, the Antichrist, the man of sin, comes in, makes a whole lot of promises, fixes a lot of things, but then there's a switch up. Now you've already fallen hook, line, and sinker, fallen for the traps. And then instead of rallying the troops against Jerusalem, because Jesus does say that the man of sin is going to attack Jerusalem, and it says all throughout that this person's going to persecute God's people, going to persecute the Jews, but after that, he's going to turn against God. And that's where the battle of Gog and Magog comes into play. That's where the mark of the beast comes into play. It's after the hook, line, and sinker. There's a big switch up that occurs. So all of these past figures, and I think Hitler sets a great kind of mold for what we could possibly be on the lookout for with this man of sin. But anyway, all these people are past figures, and for no other reason. Well, okay, so also Hitler was Catholic, and he didn't exalt himself as a godlike figure, which we know the man of sin will do. So he doesn't fully complete the prophecies. But in addition to that, all these past figures we've seen, if they are to be this, all of the new, or a few of the New Testament prophecies of the man of sin, he's defeated by Jesus himself. Jesus comes, his second coming, and he defeats this army of Gog and Magog himself. So it can't be Hitler, really. Especially, like, I mean, we have people that were alive during World War II still. I think they would have, you know, it would have been a big thing talked about if Jesus came back and killed Hitler. Anyway, we're going to move on to a couple people who are present time, and present time is confusing because obviously people that are still alive right now, they could end up being the Antichrist. A lot can happen in 5 years, 1 year, even a lot can happen in a month. But there's a lot of people that say that, you know, Peter Thiel is the Antichrist. I don't think he is, though. I think he is just I think he's part of the system. He's the fruit on the tree, obviously pretty messed up, but the whole world is not in awe of him, and he's not a figurehead right now. He's actually on the run. I think he's just a little, ghoulish, worm, reptilian mastermind sort of thing. I don't think that he's the actual head honcho. People say that Trump is, and there's a couple reasons that we could get into that. And this is without any political affiliation. But never before have we seen a, American world leader that's so belligerent in how they represent themselves in the public eye. Someone quite so problematic. And I'm not even saying this as an anti-Trump guy. I'm not. I'm not going to say that I'm a big fan of what's going on. I'm just saying, he could be a little bit of the man of sin. The reason why I say that is because it is said that the man of sin accomplishes this not by his own might, but he was given power to do these things. And so, historically, leaders who conduct themselves as he has been doing, they don't go very far. These big, wild personalities, they crash and burn. But nothing has actually stopped him so far. And so, in time will tell. And I pray for this man, and so should you. Especially for the relationship with our country. But if he keeps getting away with this, it's getting harder and harder to defend him not being this man of sin, because he is, because that would be astonishing. It would be, the whole world would stand in awe, because it's just not how things are supposed to play out, societally or psychologically and stuff like that. So it would stand to reason that he isn't accomplishing these things by natural means, but he's actually been given power to do this. And that brings me into my final point, and that is that what we talked about today can go hand in hand with what we talked about last week. There can be a human figurehead in world stage theory, and what that would look like is, yes, we have the system of the beast out of the sea overhead of us. Like, everything is a production from this, reptilian, evil, Anunnakian lineage. But we have a figurehead that they plop down, and since they're pulling the strings and it's the world stage and everything's a production, they have one guy that they make look like a hero. So everything is staged. They set up all these problems for him to come in and solve. The man of sin comes in. These guys up here start removing the problems, and everything goes well and smoothly for this figurehead, the man of sin, the capital A Antichrist, the eighth king, and they make him look like a hero, and everybody's like, holy crap, this dude can do miracles, who can stop him? And so that is how the world stage theory can go hand in hand with, the lone wolf, stern-faced king, overarching, big head honcho supervillain. And I think realistically that that's how it's going to play out. Anyway, I think I covered everything there. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments, because I really wanted to touch on that Dune false prophet component, because I do think that it is very possible that we could see a guy come in and fix a lot of things right away and make some promises, but really just fix things, because that's what would really deceive a lot of people. Like, man, I like this guy. He's actually making a change and stuff. And so that would fool a lot of people, lead a lot of people astray, and then it's really easy to see how the big switch up would come once everybody has already bought into this new man's regime. But it's been a while, and I've been pretty busy, but just trust me, this series is always in the back of my mind. It's just I have seasons where I record for clips, seasons where I, get what I want to say down, and then obviously I record and edit this video. That's just something that happens. I've been playing a lot of BO6 and M19 lately, my two least favorite CODs, and I've been enjoying them, and I think that's a good sign, because I think that means that, with the busyness of life, it just feels better to be on COD now, no matter what COD it is. But stay prayed up, guys. Remember to really get your heart right and align yourself in a way that when the mark of the beast rolls around, you love God so much that you do not bow to somebody that isn't him out of fear of your own life, because it could happen. You know, like I said, a lot could happen in 1 month. They already have digital ID in the UK, so. But anyway, I love you guys. God bless y'all. Peace out, and I will see y'all next time.